Your friendship goes back to your earliest days on SNL. My sense is that maybe the first few weeks, months at SNL, what to do with Will Ferrell was maybe a little bit of a question mark, and there was one writer who really saw your potential and has been responsible for a lot of your, I think the way you said it is weirdest stuff that you've done in your career.
Yeah, that we've done a lot of fun, weird stuff. No, but Harper was an advocate from even before the show even starting, because you kind of have this, you're just there for a month trying to figure out what to do.
We should make clear, I wasn't the only advocate in the building. There'll be people who be like, hey, I knew Will Ferrell was funny.
But early days of SNL, I was feeling a little shy and I'm not necessarily a performative person all the time. But Harper and I had a lunch in which she kind of got to see my funny side, and we connected on a humor level, and then she reported back to the group like, no, he's actually funny.
I did.
And then we collaborated on
some weird shit.
On some weird shit. Yeah. Yeah.
The movie covers this beautifully. The letter that Harper wrote coming out and saying she was transitioning. There's something so universal and beautiful about this film. I want to get to what we were exploring here. That moment of what's going on with the two of you and your friendship and the questions that you have for each other, and how what that moment was like, because it's what's at the heart of this film.
I think we set it up in the film. It was a chance for me to see what had changed with my friend, or if anything had changed. It was a chance for us to take 17 days on the road, one-on-one, obviously interacting with people along the way, but to really kind of dig deeper than just our friendship, which were comedy collaborators, and for me to kind of ask all the questions that I had with my friend, who was, you know, the first trans person that I had intimately known or know, and so that was what this opportunity was all about from my standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, when you write a letter like that, I think a lot of trans people will concur. That's a scary moment. You don't know how people are going to react. I should have known. I mean, I work in entertainment, so it was ridiculous for me, but you project a lot of fear. And my relationship with Will is very important. I mean, we do speak the same comedy language, and that's where we connected so hard. And so I didn't want to lose that. And so when you send that letter out, you're just kind of waiting for that response. And Will is difficult. Mm-hmm. He's like working on
I got a huge ego.
Working on a movie in Boston. He's like, let me think about this. That was his first response. And then he was like, you know what, I'm going to ask friends to find out how I should feel. And that's what you did, right? No, he was immediately sorry. Will was immediately sorry.
I was like, I didn't watch that movie, Harper.
Yeah. No, Will immediately was, I support you, and let's talk about this at some point. And but I got to get back to my A job, which is acting in big movies.
Big movies.
Harper, I wonder if you could talk about one of the ideas behind this road trip is something that you loved. You loved going across this country, I think by yourself, going to the shittiest bars, going to the smallest towns. And one of the premises here is this might be something you can't do anymore, walking into a bar with a Trump 2024 sign as a trans woman. And part of this is being your friendship, not only the dialogue between you, but that also maybe you could do this with Will and start to do the things that you loved again.
Yeah, the movie is universal, I think, but there are there's a, because you're trans, there's a political side to this movie. I projected a lot of fear on my country. This is my country, and I projected a lot of fear on it. I went out there. I've been out there my whole life, nonstop. I love it, and I went out there and. As a trans woman, expecting what our media and what politicians are telling us, which is very hyped up. And what we met out there on the road, I suspected this, but again, very fearful, was that Americans, by and large, either are non-confrontational and don't give a F anything about me, or they're happy to talk to me. And I have found that. And thankfully I found that with help. I got help. I mean, not everyone gets that help, but I was able to find that. Now, am I saying that, hey, when you transition, run out to these places and check them out? You know, there's still danger out there for trans people, absolutely. But I just had to balance that fear in me with a certain reality that gave me more hope for being in that place that I love, which is all over the country. So,
well, you say in the film, and I think it's pretty obvious as a celebrity, you're used to being in a fishbowl. And there's a moment in a steakhouse where you're in a fishbowl in a very different way. And I feel like that was a moment where you started to very much understand some of what a different type of fishbowl it is as a trans woman.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that?
Yeah, that's a very important part of the film. That was something that we knew going into was going to be, you know, we go into a place in Amarillo, Texas, where it advertises you can eat the largest steak, 72-ounce steak, and you get it for free if you can eat it in an hour and a half. What they leave out is you got to eat a baked potato and two weird shrimps as well. There's a little bit of a cheat. Anyway, so we thought it'd be fun. We you know, but it just the intensity of that. There's, I don't know, 500 people up watching you, and walking in with my dear friend, I would safely say the only trans person in that restaurant, possibly. I don't know.
Hard to say.
But
yes, more than likely.
But the intensity of everyone looking at me, but then looking at her, looking at us, trying to assess what was happening or going to happen, which we're just having this meal. That was, and then the reaction afterwards on social media, and that was. I learned a lot from that moment in terms of the level of scrutiny, the level of hate, that just, you know, every day can be for anyone in the trans world. Just you really have to take on the day and be comfortable with who you are.
The journey is beautiful. The idea that you guys would go on this road trip is beautiful. I'm wondering about the decision to document it and what was involved in that. In that sense that you wanted, this is about a very intimate thing about two friends and your friendship. What was that? Was that just kind of a natural thing to want to document it?
Will made me do it.
Will made you do it? Yeah.
You have stuff on me. No, it was not an easy decision. That I don't like being on camera.
And we also fully acknowledge this is not the first documentary done on a trans subject.
Yeah, trans stories or all kinds of things. I just, for me personally, the decision came down to, is this going to be useful? So, in two ways. One of them is very selfish. When you transition, it's hard. You know, I'm not so hard for me, but it is hard. It was hard for me. And I got this amazing help. It was helpful to be on the road. That didn't get me out the door. I sat in my house up in New York and listened to all these bills being passed. And again, I'm not a saint by any means, far from it. But I thought maybe there's something useful about this. Because I have a really beloved movie star who happens to be my friend. And at the beginning of this project, Will was very insistent, am I exploiting you, Harper? And by the time I had made my decision, I came back to him and said, I hate to say this, but I think I'm exploiting you. And I think, and neither one of us is exploiting the other. It's something we wanted to do, but I think it can be useful. I think that was the reason why it finally got done. And I think that was your thinking all along, but I had to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, and also too, to just show two friends having a discussion about the subject in an everyday way, in which a question comes up and then we make fun of each other, and then, oh wait, I got another question, and that almost to what we learned after, but I don't know if it was necessarily a goal, but to demystify maybe take down the temperature of the conversation in a way too.